At long last, welcome back, Bernie, and welcome you all to Cardinal Territory. It's been a week since we've done an episode together, but it feels like so much longer. We'll get to that Rockies recap. So much to talk about.
First of all, I got to say this. Yeah, I thought you were like ready to like designate me for assignment or something.
Never. I was ready to designate myself for assignment. That's what happened.
All right, I had to get that in. Okay, good to see you. Good to work with you again.
Yeah, so much to talk about after the latest Cardinals series. Look, they were riding a high. They won 2 of 3 in Los Angeles, came back, big series win over the Cubs over Yachty weekend, and they promptly get rocked by Colorado. They dropped the series to the Rockies again for the second time to arguably what could be one of the most historically bad baseball teams ever. And it just took all the excitement right out of their sails. And the worst part about this one, the 6-5 loss to the Rockies, we're recording this Wednesday, August 13th, was I don't think the Cardinals could have done anything better from a strategy standpoint to ensure a better outcome. Ollie Marmol got McGreevy out at the right time. He was cruising through 6th. The swings were a little better the second time through, so you don't really want to see him go a third time through. And then you have your most high leverage relievers rested and ready to go. You know, you're going to have Leahy for 1. O'Brien and Romero haven't pitched since Sunday, so you can use them accordingly. You get Jojo Romero in the 9th, knowing that the Rockies are going to turn over their bench and put the righties in. There's nothing you can do about it because of how the bullpen's set up. Jojo Romero has been nails. What happens? He gives a pinch hit home run to Hunter Goodman. The first home run he's surrendered since April 21st. And the Cardinals lose 6-5, a gut punch loss. Bernie, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the bullpen is going to be a challenge. We all figured that would be the case. You know, when they removed 3 of their best dudes, obviously Helsley, Maton, and Matz. But the bullpen had done really, really well. But I think we all watched the bullpen do very, very well without their former teammates. But I think we all also kind of figured, we got to live in the real world here. There's going to be some problems. And this was just one of those days where the bullpen just wasn't good and it cost them the game. I felt bad. I really did feel bad for Jojo Romero. See, I'm not just a mean guy all the time. He's been so great for the Cardinals since late April. It's just great. And it was just one of those days. It happens to relievers. Heck, it's happened to Ryan Helsley as a Met already a couple times. So what are you going to do? But Katie, man, the Rockies had not had a shutout. If you go back into, I think it was like May 24th or May 14th, if something like that, of 2024. So not only did they beat the Cardinals 4 times, but two of the wins were shutouts. I mean, right. They hadn't shut anyone out until the Cardinals came along.
And are against the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, it's just unbelievable. And I was looking this up to me too, just a very, very brief numbers nerd thing. The Cardinals, like the last 2 days, in the 2-4 record against the Rockies, they only managed to score 18 runs, and 5 of them came today. And the Rockies this season, right now, their overall ERA and their starting pitching ERA would be the worst in a season by a team since the 1996 Detroit Tigers, who lost like 103 or 4 games. So, how does this happen?
It's so frustrating, and I think like you can chalk it up to growing pains. Whatever, we know what the season's supposed to be as they transition to 2026 and beyond, but it doesn't change the fact that this team should have performed so much better against the Rockies. And that was the sentiment inside the clubhouse. Michael McGreevy hasn't been a major leaguer for that long, but I thought he was spot on with him when he said, like, everyone's disappointed by this. We asked, is that the common sentiment in the clubhouse? And he looked at us like we were crazy. He goes, of course. They know what this is. I mean, the Rockies haven't even won 40 games. They entered Tuesday's game 58 games under 500. And Ollie Marmol said on Tuesday when the Cardinals got shut out, they had to have been much better against Kyle Freeland, who was 2-12 coming into that matchup, had an ERA higher than Miles Michaelis. So disappointing. It is. Yes, they had a short bench. They were out without Newbar for a game, without Contreras for a game, without Donovan for 8 innings for a game. Those are 3 guys that are going to be instrumental in this everyday success going forward. But bottom line is your next core has to figure out how to hit Rockies pitching. And what makes it more frustrating is that they played really competitive ball against the Dodgers and really strong baseball against the Cubs just to come out flat and, again, take the wind out of their sails here.
And listen, so we already talked about the bullpen. And, obviously, it's a very simple thing. If they get the 3 outs they needed, the Cardinals win. But I don't want to let the offense off the hook.
We shouldn't.
They scored 5 runs in the first 5 innings. They did not score a run the final 4 innings against a wretched pitching staff and a wretched bullpen. And it isn't that they just got shut out over the last 4 innings. I mean, you've got to tack on some runs against the Rockies. You just have to. They were 0 for 12 with, I think, 4 strikeouts, maybe 5 in the last 4 innings. I mean, let's just say the quality of the at-bats was pretty bad. And it's just like, to use the Tony La Russa thing, I hope when the Yankees show up on Friday, these guys are ready to play a hard night again, because that was pretty bad. Just the offense just completely shut down by a Rockies bullpen. That's just awful. I mean, the Cardinals, the last 2 games, which they lost, they didn't score a run against the Rockies bullpen in, I think, 5 2/3 innings. Come on, that's inexcusable.
Right.
That's all stinks. We'll talk about that later.
We will. But it's, yeah, fans, I hear your frustration. It was not a good series. That has been backed up by the guys in the clubhouse. Just, especially when you get another quality start by Michael McGreevy, who seems to be figuring things out as he gets, almost a month of consistent playing time in the Major League rotation. I liked what we saw to McGreevy again, to go out and cruise through the first 3. And then, yeah, he did get hit a little bit harder during the 4th, 5th, and 6th inning. The Rockies scored 1 run in each of those frames. But you can play with fire when you have a pitch-to-contact staff or a pitch-to-contact guy, and that fire doubles when you have runners on, right? But McGreevy doesn't waver. He doesn't scare. And that's what makes him a little different than the majority of the ground ball pitchers that we've seen from the Cardinals this year, is because he trusts his stuff and he knows he can get out of it. And we saw that. Now, would he want a couple of those pitches back? Sure, absolutely. He actually wasn't super perturbed about the Mickey Moniak home run, just wished that he went about it, the sequencing, a different way. And that's something he's going to learn this early in his career. But for the Cardinals to come out and get a quality start from their pitcher and not be able to back it up, knowing how often from July 1st to now they were unable to get a quality start and were out of games by the 3rd or 4th inning because their starter of the day imploded, you left an opportunity on the table. Momentum was really high on Monday. It's fallen short again. Get an off day, recover, and hope you can take advantage of a flailing Yankees squad. But yeah, this one hurts, Bernie, definitely.
If they win the series, I'm fine with that. I mean, sometimes it's easy to be demanding and say, oh, you got to sweep this team. You never demand a sweep. You just keep stacking series wins, but you got to win that game. I mean, you have a 5-3 lead. Come on. I mean, that was that the worst? I'm going to ask you. I'll defer to the expert. Was that the worst loss of their season? I'm thinking it was.
It felt like it. It felt like it just because of what they were able to do after the trade deadline. We all thought coming after the deadline that the Cardinals, they traded away their top 3 relievers. The sentiment is let's focus on the future. That's the messaging from the organization. And you had a lot of players step up, specifically in that bullpen. So to come out and not take advantage of a very feeble opponent, that sucks. Plain and simple. That's not fun.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple of things go down in the last week or so. I think last week or so. Anyway, I think this defines kind of this wacky nature, unpredictable nature, topsy-turvy nature, tilt-a-whirl nature of the Cardinals. You win the season series from the Dodgers and you lose the season series to the Rockies.
Make it make sense.
That's the 2025 Cardinals right there, huh?
Very much. We talked about their roller coaster season. We're still on it. Gosh, I don't even know what else to add. I guess I'll just leave it at that. But we've seen this from this team all year where, they get off to a terrible start, then they catch fire, and they're the best team in baseball in May, and then they start to fall apart, and then they're awful from June 30th up until recently. We counted them out once or twice, then we counted them out for sure after the deadline, and then they rally from that. At one point, when they beat Colorado the other night, the Cardinals had won 5 out of 7. So now we're all looking at the playoff odds and we're looking at the schedule and we're thinking, well, it's a long shot, but that's kind of interesting. Maybe. And now, then just when you think you figured them out, which is stupid because we can't really figure them out because they're so inconsistent. Then they lay eggs on consecutive days against the worst team. Not only this year, maybe it'll go down as the worst team in the history of the game. It's not what you want. But don't worry, guys. I promise this episode is not going to be just lamenting the entire last 3 days. I promise we'll get to some analysis over Matthew Liberatore's start, his velo, and a couple other things. First, though, a quick message from our partners with DraftKings. The dog days of summer are here, and in Missouri, that means it's baseball season in full swing. Whether you're up in Kansas City or St. Louis, it's your time to shine and score big. Download the Pick Six app, the easiest way to turn your baseball takes into cold, hard cash. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats for 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. No gimmicks, no weird rules. And for folks in the Show Me State, there's something special. New Pick Six players in Missouri can jump in for free. Download the app, sign up, and you'll get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Don't miss out on this limited time offer, Missouri. Download the DraftKings Pick Six app right now and use code FOUL. That's code FOUL. Register a new account and get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside, where a few bucks can turn into a bag, only on DraftKings Pick Six. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Void where prohibited. Register new Pick Six account to receive $50 in bonus picks that expire in 7 days. Ends 8/24/25 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so a topic that's going to come up in Cardinals land, regardless of wins or losses, is what to do about Matthew Liberatore for the remainder of the season. Libby was not able to record an out in the 5th inning yesterday. He threw 3 innings, a perfect ball to start his start on Tuesday. The velo started to dip a little bit in the 4th, but it was manageable, and then really had a noticeable drop-off in the 5th, and that's where Ollie Marmol said, we've seen enough, and pulled him with 2 runners on there. Sustaining velo, as we know, has been a big thing for Libby coming out of the second half. It's why the Cardinals skipped his first start coming out of the All-Star break. And since then, Libby has not really been able to sustain much of that. His stuff has fallen, his command, his velocity. He has not recorded more than 5 innings since the All-Star break. We knew Libby was going to be reaching his career innings at some point during the second half. The Cardinals were aware this could be a problem. He will make his next start. But if Matthew Liberatore continues to falter, his health and his longevity next season is much more important than how the Cardinals figure how to finish this year. The problem, though, Bernie, as we know, as we've talked about all season long, the Cardinals don't really have much in terms of depth to alleviate this problem. They could turn to a piggyback role with both Kyle Leahy and Matt Swanson stretched out for length. But it is certainly not ideal. Bernie, what is your concern level about Libby's velo issues?
Yeah, I guess it's moderate. From the standpoint, I think they'll handle this properly. I don't think they're going to, push it or force the issue. They've already shown they're backing off. But where is the line of demarcation on that? In other words, will there come a point, where they just look at this and say, you know what? Just to be safe, we got to shut them down for the rest of the season. I think that should be a consideration because sometimes, listen, we know that the basic reason that we all jump on, which is, fine, is, well, he hasn't been a starting pitcher in the majors before. And he's not used to this innings load. And, in his first 10 starts of the season, he basically averaged 6 innings per start, which, so they rode him pretty hard. And I'm not ripping them or criticizing them. I'm just saying they did. That's a fact. He averaged 5.9 innings per his first 10 starts, and then kind of hit the wall, bounced back a little bit, hit the wall again. So he's a precious talent that has a chance to be really outstanding and a really important member of your rotation for years to come. So if there's any doubt whatsoever, don't force it. Shut him down if you feel you have to. And I hope and I trust that the Cardinals are also going to kind of look at his offseason and maybe come up with some ways that will help him. He works hard and he cares deeply, but maybe there's something to do with his preparation in the offseason that can gird him better for, being a major league starting pitcher for 30, 33 games in 2026. I think they have to look at all of that, but I think that everything can turn out just fine, but I hope that they're really careful with what they do here the remainder of the season.
And to their credit, they have been so careful about pitching injuries. And while a little bit of luck is involved in that, you can't control many of these exterior circumstances. They have been, since day one, so cognizant about how they're using pitchers, the overall innings, how they're taking care of guys on the off days. We know about that 6 days of rest formula that they had for most of the first half. I've said it before. I've said it all season long. I'm not changing my mind on this. They did absolutely 100% the right thing with Matthew Liberatore this year.
Sure.
We know this. We've gone back and forth. You needed to know what he was as a starter because starting pitching is so thin in this organization, and he has the makeup to do it. He's proved it. He's shown it. Now it's about sustaining it. But if it in any means is going to impact his health or his availability next year, you don't risk it because he's shown the Cardinals what they need to see. And that's someone that you can build around for next year in 27. Etc. So I'm with Bernie. I agree. I don't like it for Libby because I think he has still such untapped potential, and I look forward to Libby starts. He's worked really, really hard, and to hear how open he was about his struggles on Tuesday, about how this is not the pitcher he wants to be, how he doesn't know what's going on. It's a frustrating challenge, but he's determined to fix it. I believe he will. And I'm glad the Cardinals are giving him at least one more start to try to adjust this on the fly. At this point, what do you have to lose? But the second that Libby is unable in a noticeable way for a prolonged amount of time, and at this point we're getting there, and the stuff isn't holding, the velo isn't holding, and the command isn't going, you need to make the best decision for his future, and I think the Cardinals will do that.
And I don't want to overreact to the loss of velocity. And you pointed something else. It's also very much about his loss of command. It isn't just the velo, but it's
hand in hand.
Like if you look at his first 10 starts, like his walk rate was one of the lowest by a starting pitcher in the majors. I mean, it was like pinpoint control. It was really a beautiful thing to watch. But I think we're also used to these, terrible pitching injuries. Just the way the industry is with everyone with the high velo and everything else. I mean, starting pitchers especially are breaking down all the time. And I'm not saying that this is always the case. Obviously, it's not. But, I think of guys in the past, the velocities drop and the command's really suffering. And, the next thing you get, your starter, it's like, well, they're going to look at him. He might have a flexor strain or something. And then that leads to an elbow problem. And it just kind of mushrooms from there. I mean, that's what happened with Corbin Burns. He was losing velo last year in Baltimore. Arizona signs him, and he was losing more velo early this season before he finally had to succumb to Tommy John surgery. I mean, the losing velo thing, for a pitcher who was otherwise in great shape, who was trained properly, is ultra competitive. When all of a sudden the velo tanks, that's a red flag, and the Cardinals know that, which is why they're backing off.
Yeah, agreed. Now the second tier to this problem is if the Cardinals decide to taper Libby back, that's fine. You can have Kyle Leahy piggyback. I believe that Kyle Leahy will actually be, when pitchers and catchers report next year, be reporting as a starter. Matt Swanson. Talk about a guy that's really thrived. And I'll dive more into this when I have more information, but this is just initial stuff that was brought to me over this series. If you want to look at how the Cardinals' new pitching development system is working in the minor leagues, look at what Matt Swanson's been able to do since being called up in the first week of July. This is what we can get excited about. So I'm excited to dive a little bit more into that. But the stuff from Swanson, the effectiveness, the changes that he made from a mechanic standpoint, command, and overall usage, this is what the Cardinals are working down in AAA, AA with new director of pitching, Matt Pierpont, Rob Cerfolio, Chaim Bloom. They're all over this. Matt Swanson is a very early sample size on what you can see for those new changes. So that is exciting. There is your positive note of the podcast of the day. They can piggyback. It's going to make this already complicated bullpen even more complicated to navigate. And honestly, I think Ollie Marmol and Dusty Blake have done a really good job given what they have. You don't have a lot of depth options. You have Aaron Wilkerson and Curtis Taylor, two depth right-handers that aren't necessarily a part of the future, but have been at least capable of throwing innings in Memphis, so they could come up and spot start. None of this is ideal, and it further emphasizes the Cardinals' need to get back on pitching development and really bolster their minor league system with arms because they are severely lacking, and this problem that they've created is, again, because of their own unavailability with players in their system.
What are the odds that the Cardinals, given the fact, I mean, his last two starts in particular have been fantastic. I'm talking about Quinn Matthews. What are the odds that I'm not saying you call him up August 15th is like the first day you can, and where he can still maintain his rookie eligibility next season, but I'm talking maybe the end of August. Do you give him a couple starts, and do you handle him with care? You almost have an opener situation. You let him pitch 2 innings, maybe then turn it into a bullpen game. Do you get a look at him? Do you let him get acclimated to the majors? Would that expedite his development from the standpoint that he'll have a feel for it, he'll experience it, and then it puts him in a spot where he knows what to expect, and he'll have a better feel for pitching the major leagues when he goes to spring training. Have you heard anything that tells you one way or the other, either yay or nay, on the idea of bringing him up and not grinding him, not pushing him, just letting him pitch a little bit?
We're talking about Matthews, right? You cut out for a second. Right when you said the name, I was like, oh, but yes. Okay. I figured it was Matthews. I can see both sides. I've said it on the show before. You don't call a top pitching prospect up based on team need. You call him up based on player performance. Right. And Quinn Matthews has done a lot better as of late, but I think there are still some things to fine tune. John Mozeliak went on 101 ESPN on the morning show and gave a pretty good interview to those guys, Tim McKernan out there, and also pointed out this, which I didn't really consider. This is not a protection year for Quinn Matthews. He doesn't need to be added to the 40-man roster. They don't need to make those kinds of changes yet. And if they do, that's probably not a Mo decision. That's a Chaim Bloom decision. So I don't see the Cardinals really rushing up Quinn Matthews, knowing how important it is for them to get their very limited AAA arms right for 2026 and then burning a year of protection on the 40-man roster. I don't think that makes a lot of sense for them to do right now. Now, if Quinn Matthews absolutely shoves for the next 3-4 weeks and is worthy of a September roster expansion call-up, maybe we're having a different conversation. But with pitching specifically, it is so much better overall for everyone to wait to call them up, maybe even wait a little too late, than to bring them up too early, as we've seen so many times here in St. Louis.
I agree with you on principle. And I don't know if the same thing applies to a guy like JJ Weatherholt. I know there's a lot of consternation about the 40-man roster. I just happen to believe, I mean, he's dude's a natural born hitter. And I also think the Cardinals, at least want to try to sell some tickets for 2026.
I'd hope so.
If you give the people, a sneak preview of coming attractions, because they're going to market the heck out of JJ Weatherholt all off season.
Well, yeah, he's on the top,
right? So you got to bring them up. Give the people what they want to see. You want to cause some or stimulate some excitement. I think a look-see with JJ would help. But anyway, that I wanted to throw that in because Matthews and JJ are kind of in the same situation as far as their unbelievable upside in terms of their potential for the major leagues.
And JJ's been swinging it, was just named the Cardinals minor league player of the month for July, has 6 leadoff homers for Memphis, and I think he's played there for not even a month yet. So it's exciting. I'm all in the JJ Weatherholt train, absolutely. But I don't think the Cardinals are in any rush to, because if you look at their current roster right now, where would you even play him, Bernie? Wow, we have a roster redundancy problem here in St. Louis. Never heard that before. Yeah.
But boy, why do you have to bring that up?
Sorry, maybe. Okay, we'll cut to commercial. We'll calm down and we'll finish with our final segment.
No, I mean, I'm kidding, of course, but it's the headache that never ends. In fact, you brought it up, and like on the other side of my laptop, I have some Aleve. I might have to reach for the Aleve. Okay. So anyway, because you brought that up,
roster construction is going to need to be addressed real quick by the new regime, and I'm sure it will be. All right, a quick message from our pals at HelloFresh. We will be right back.
We have a little breaking news on HelloFresh. We've talked about them for a long time, but this summer they have their biggest menu upgrade yet. Ready for this, Todd Father?
Talk to me.
They have doubled their menu. Doubled. Now you can choose from 100 options each week, including new seasonal dishes and recipes from around the world. 100 options per week.
That's incredible. But to start out, what they had before was absolutely perfect. Now to add even more for your go guys like me. I got baseball in the morning. I got baseball afternoon, all day, every day. I need something to get going. I need something to eat, and it's absolutely delicious, Scott.
That's right, Todd Father. The best way to cook just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/FT10FM right now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 per box with active subscription. Free meals applied as discount on a first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That is HelloFresh.com/FT10FM to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life.
All right, as we head into our final segment of the show, the Yankees are coming to town Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Paul Goldschmidt back in action here at Busch Stadium. It'll be really nice to see Goldie. The Yankees, however, on a tailspin of their own. So it will be, if anything, interesting over the next few days at the ballpark. Bernie, anything you need to express, get off your mind, vent. We can make this a therapy session. What do you got?
we were talking about Chaim Bloom, and he's going to have a crucial offseason coming up. And obviously, we all have to kind of adjust our expectations because this isn't going to be, well, Mr. DeWitt, can I have this much to sign this free agent? And I want to sign that free agent, and I want to sign this free agent. It's not that offseason. They're starting their rebuild in earnest. I'm not talking about a tear down, but they're starting they've already started it really. This year was the first step, but it really moves into overdrive with Chaim Bloom. And, I've used this cliche on a couple of other media appearances and even my own column, so I'm sorry to use it again. But, I like to barbecue, and, for a while there, I was getting really fancy. And, when you put a brisket on or you put a pork butt on or whatever, the way to do it, low and slow, don't rush it. Don't turn the temperature up too high, low and slow. And that's how you come up with the perfect brisket or pork butt, right? How do you like that?
That's really good. I'm hungry.
I know, right? Well, this is going to be low and slow. And Cardinals fans are going to have to get used to it. I'm not saying they have to like it, but Bill DeWitt hired, and John Mozeliak hired Chaim Bloom for a reason, because he had a plan. In fact, the DeWitts were blown away when, as part of before he got the job, they wanted him to present his plan. And he made a presentation that lasted over 3 hours. And it's like every detailed covered. I mean, step by step by step. So listen, this is an incredibly smart man. And I'm going to trust what he thinks is best, because the Cardinals need to get out of the middle. If it means a couple more years where it might be a little frustrating, or they're going to take a hit attendance-wise, well, they're not going to raise payroll, so they'll be able to at least financially be fine. Or they're fine anyway financially. But the thing that's on my mind is, we know that there will be trades, and we know that this offense has to change, not only in just bottom line performance. It's been the worst offense in the majors statistically since June 30th. Coincidentally, that's when they opened that series in Pittsburgh and got shut out 3 days in a row. They've scored the fewest runs per game of any team in the majors since then, starting then. And they're like 29th in slugging and 29th in OPS, just awful. But it isn't just the bottom line. It's also going to be, and I want to get your opinion on this, and maybe this could be an upcoming segment next time we meet, but they have to ease the logjam. They have got to offload some left-handed bats. If Chaim Bloom does anything, I hope that he lands a right-handed bat that can play in the outfield. That could be part of a trade. But, who's he going to trade? How aggressive will he be? Will he move two of these left-handed bats? Will he be somewhat conservative, or will he go into this thinking, no, this is the time to strike now, because if I don't move player A, B, or C, talking about left-handed bats, their value may continue to tank. And so this will be the time, if there's interest in them, and they claim that there was a lot of interest in them in the trade deadline. So what's Chaim Bloom going to do? We know what his bottom line job is, but what's he going to do in terms of handling this specific offseason in a way that also attacks the very pressing problems that have bugged them all year? The overload of left-handed bats, the positional log jams, the lack of right-handed power, all kinds of things. How does he deal with that in the near future?
Well, it's a twofold thing for me. The active roster needs to be addressed, and the 40-man construction and operation and how the Cardinals use that has blown my mind, and not in a good way, for seasons now. And I think that's going to be obviously one of the main prerogatives of the front office under Chaim Bloom to come in and address. You cannot play the 2026 season with the same roster construction on your active roster as you do right now, and you have to have better options on your 40-man. I could spend 30 minutes talking about the 40-man roster, but I won't do that. And those things are not going to be addressed in the course of 2 weeks, right? That's going to take the entire offseason, if not into spring training, to solidify that. And it's probably a 2026 overall big picture as we sit here before the 25 season even ends. That's something that cannot be fixed in a month. That's at least an offseason, if not an entire season's worth of roster maneuvers. But the one thing that the Cardinals' new front office can do, whether it's Chaim Bloom, whether it's Rob Cerfolio, whether it's Matt Pierpont, whether it's whoever the new GM is going to be, is nail the messaging and be transparent with fans. Fans do not want to be gaslit anymore. They've had enough. Look at the stadium. Why do you think they're not showing up? And I think this new front office, I think every single one of these people understand that. And I think they know they have to nail the messaging. We haven't really heard much from them. Mo is still in charge of the organization and still is handling all of the media and all that. But behind the scenes, I think there's a real push for the new wave to come in and be open with fans. And I hope this is true. I hope they are, and explain, hey, here's what's going on here. Because the Cardinals tried to do that. They tried to be transparent in October. I didn't love the end of season press conference. They tried. It wasn't good, but they tried. And then they went back on it and kind of did this applies to half the roster, but not the other half. We're competing, but we're also retooling. We're not going to call it a rebuild, but everyone knows it's a rebuild. And we have two front offices at the same time, so go get them. That only muddied the message in their best attempts to try to be transparent. So it didn't work. Right. This front office has to be a lot better than that. And I think they understand that.
Yeah. And I'm not going to repeat what you said because you laid it out very, very well. But to just, put a point on it, I'm not saying Cardinals fans are going to like what Chaim Bloom has to say. And Rob Cerfolio, they probably won't like hearing the word rebuild. But you know what? I think Cardinals fans are good people. And I think that they will appreciate the fact that someone is being straight with them, and there's no double talk. There's no, making these declarations and then taking them back, and you're never really putting them into play. Your fans want to be treated with respect. The first thing to do to get their trust back is to treat them with respect and tell them the truth, even if the truth is not what they necessarily want to hear. They'll respect you for respecting them instead of trying to run a con, or some kind of fast talking. Well, this is our plan, which really isn't a plan. So I am glad to hear that, and I'm not surprised to hear that they're all on board with telling the truth and being straight with people. That's the start, and that's the first indication that the Cardinals really will have new and better leadership running things from this point on. And John Mozeliak, listen, I will at the appropriate time coming up soon, I will write a tribute to him because of the work that he did for so long. He did an excellent job, but he's like a pitcher that it happens in sports. He just kind of lost his fastball, right?
We all do.
I lost mine a long time ago. Then he lost his fastball, and then he was kind of like became a guy that was kind of a junk baller. He's trying to throw this pitch, that pitch, try to sell a pitch, try to hoping something will land. But I think, and people will get mad at me for praising him on the way out, but I'll be praising him for what he did. He was actually here before Tony La Russa. His Walt Jacket, he brought him from Colorado, and then they hired La Russa. John Mozeliak made some monster moves that helped the Cardinals win a lot of games and a lot of big games, and the 2011 World Series and the 2013 National League pennant. So, but his time, has come and gone, and I think Bill DeWitt maybe stayed the course too long. But I look forward to new leadership. It isn't that I hate John Mozeliak. I go way, way back with him. I like him a lot personally. He does not like me very much at this moment in time.
I don't think he likes any of us.
But I've been pretty nasty, maybe too much at times. But I'm going to tip the cap to Mo on the way out, and then I'm going to be really, really, just as someone, the fan in me, but also caring about the fans here in St. Louis. I'm going to be so happy that they get to have new people in charge, new people that I think will handle so many things a lot better from where the Cardinals started to go after their motto and their methods and everything else got stale.
Agreed. And we'll end it here because I'm with you, Bernie. We talk a lot about the future of the organization because it's time for change and because it's honestly going to be a brand new ordeal for all of us involved, fans, media alike. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to discredit what John Mozeliak's entire tenure has been in St. Louis. I know the last 3 years have not been great, but I'm not going to, throw an entire respectable career out the door And I hope that Cardinals fans can eventually, I understand why you're not right now, but can eventually realize what he did from a grand scope of things. The Cardinals had a real sick run under him. But don't worry, we'll do the Mozeliak tribute episode when we get later to the end of the season.
Right.
We'll take an off day. Polo Asensio is going to join me, talk about Yachty weekend, because that was, really cool of me to miss. And he's very close to Jojo Romero, so we'll talk a little bit more about what Jojo's look like in the closer role. We just want to talk about this afternoon. And then Bernie and I will hopefully have something for you on Sunday as we recap a bounce back series. Let's manifest that. I don't know. Bernie, as always, super great to have you. Cardinal Territory fans, thanks as always for listening. We'll be back with you soon.
Thank you.